Hello, and welcome to the Scandalous Life of RJ. Back at ya. Well, I'm first. Let me apologize. Let me apologize for being late, for the delay, because life has been lifing. Yeah. Um, and I'm gonna say that why life has been lifing at the moment is because, one, I'm not sure if you can even pick up on the fact that my voice is a little bit hoarse. My son had his PE sports day. And I was cheering him on and screaming my lungs out, and this is the result. A little bit of a harshness to the voice. So I apologize. I know for some people, hey, a deeper voice might be a turn on. And also, I'd like to say, my leg, my ankle. My ankle has been playing up on me. I've got Achilles tendonitis. It's to do with my Achilles tendon. Yeah, that one, if you know the story about Troy. Yeah, so yeah, that's playing up on me. So sometimes it has me walking on a walking stick and all sorts. Um, and that's the whole story of how that happened, how that came about, is a whole story unto itself. Whole story unto itself. And we will definitely get there. But for today, let us get back into Liverpool Part 2. And so where did we leave off? I think I left off at the part where I was walking down towards the river with my son, music playing from this festival. We could look across towards it and see lots of people standing on the roof. I was then told it was a balcony with a restaurant. It was a restaurant balcony, so it was just full of people who were taking in the show for free. And we were on the back side. We're at the back of the stage where we're walking. So we could hear the music, and I'm jigging about and having a good time. It's lovely. It's fun. And then I go and I meet. As I'm walking down, I see we saw the boat. My son runs off and he goes and he starts playing off with these other children, and I see this gentleman who walks towards me. Now, he has a long lens camera around his neck, and he's pulling like a travel bag, not a travel bag, but more like a tool kind of bag. You can see like does he have lots of different cameras or lenses and what stuff, but it's a tool bag, yeah. And so he's walking towards me, and he says, "Oh, you looking at the boat?" And I'm like, "Yes, I'm looking at the boat. Just came down and thought we'd just take a look at what it was." And then he starts to describe what the boat is. He says it's a steam engine boat. And when I say the man starts to describe what it is, I mean, he really starts to describe what it is. Yeah, like I have no idea what a steam engine is. He's telling me about the round propeller, the wheel that goes around, the engine, and all sorts. Then he goes on to tell me the website that I can go and look on, and then it has pictures of the engines and stuff in there. He tells me the route that this boat goes on. He tells me where it stops over winter. He's telling me a whole load of stuff about this boat. I haven't asked this man one question. Remember that very clear. I haven't asked him one question. He's just offloading all this information onto me. And I'm gonna say this gentleman is of an older age, and he's white. And sometimes what I've realized is that sometimes you just let people talk. You should just let people talk. You don't know what's going on in their life. Sometimes it's nothing. It doesn't take anything out of your day. Sometimes just to let people talk. So, because you never know what's gonna come out of their mouths. It's so true. You don't know what's gonna come out of their mouths. So after he told me all about the ship and stuff, and then he's then pointing across the river to show me the military missile, not missile, vessel. Of course, it does have missiles on it, I'm sure, but the military vessel, the boat, um, is why it's painted that color of gray, and it's saying it's like, what did he say it was? It was like sea mist gray or something. And he's saying, so when the boats are on the horizon, they disappear on the horizon. I had no idea. I never knew anything about this. I was just like, boy, I cheat them cheap. That's why I'm painting them gray. But I had no idea. So he was telling me this, and it was, yeah. Then he started to talk about something that just he really cracked me up, because now he's starting to tell me about he's telling me about how when when you go out, how do you know when someone's trans. And he was saying you can, when they wrap a scarf around their neck, that's how you know. So they hide their Adam's apple. And I was like, I didn't realize that. I didn't, because to me it's like, I see them like, I'm like, okay, well, that's a man and dressed as or is in the transition period of, and so I can usually tell, but I don't zoom in into the little details. I don't know, but then to me it's just like, okay, and that's it. It's just, it's not a big deal to me, but it really isn't. And then he's telling me another story about, he's got some hilarious stories of embarrassing moments, of how one guy came out and in very, very tight pants, and how the gentleman must have caught a ball, but when he jumped up, he jumped up in such a way that he then bent down, and when he went down, the whole of his crutch burst open, front to back, and he had no boxers on. He was just bare underneath there, so everything's there hanging and swinging. And he then went into Poundland and bought tape and was taping it up front to back. And how another old lady came to him and said, why didn't you go to Marks and Spencer's, because they're still open? So that was a funny one. And then he's told me about a lady who was in a very lovely long flowing gown, and she's stepped out of the taxi and she's shut the door and it's trapped her gown, and then the taxi has driven off. Not only has it just ripped a piece of the gown, it's taken the whole gown, just ripped off the whole gown off of her and left her butt naked. I'm just like, in my mind, I was thinking, this man is really around for some embarrassing moments, isn't he? He's catching them all. So that was really fun. Talking to him, and then the whole time now, after my son's had his fun, played with it, and he's now he's getting a little bit tired. He keeps nagging him like, "Can we go back to the hotel? Can we go back to the hotel?" But the man's just there talking, and I don't know how to, like, someone's just on a roll, and you're just like, how do you step in and say, well, I need to go? And it's not like he can't see my son nagging, standing up right beside me, nagging to go. I'm like, just wait, we'll soon go. Because as I say, sometimes you should just let people talk. But he had such a good energy and he was just so funny and he had me cracking up. So I'm just like, why not? Why not just let this man talk? There's nothing wrong. There's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with that. So that was really good fun. That was really good fun. Then what happened after that? After I finally did leave the man, I mean, it's so funny because he's gonna, it's weird is when I had my vape in my hand, and I'm about to turn away now to walk off, and then he drags me back into the conversation about vaping. Now, we're all big people in it. We make our decisions. There's nothing. I don't know. I just find it annoying when someone then decides to take that next step and try and say, oh, well, I think this is what's good for your health. Or, like, yeah, I know what's bad, I know what's good, but my decision is that right at this very moment in time. So, oh boy. Anyways, so so after that, we went back to the hotel, and it's just nice to talk to strangers sometimes, because as I said, you never know what's gonna come out of their mouth. You literally just never know what's gonna come out of their mouth, and what kind of wisdom they could pass on to you. Because he was telling me a lot. He was telling me about different buildings and different places in Liverpool, and I can't remember all of it, but like it was a lot. It was a lot. So that was our Saturday evening. We went back to the hotel, and old Jiggy went bed. Then we had in Sunday morning, woke up Sunday morning, and we're supposed to be checking out, right? So checking out Sunday morning, and we've now, I'm woken up, so let me start packing up a little bit. Then we go to breakfast, go down to breakfast, and this time the lady says like, "Oh, would you like to sit where you were sitting yesterday?" I was like, "Yeah, why not?" So we went back over and sat by the window. We had breakfast. See, the thing is that when I see a all you can eat, like or buffet breakfast style, and you see everything laid out there, like the cereal. So they had cereal, yeah, they had egg, boiled egg, fried egg, scrambled egg, sausages, beans, um, hash browns, bacon, mushrooms, tomatoes. So you can have a black pudding. So you can have a full English breakfast, right? And for those that don't know what a full English breakfast is, it's all of those things plus toast. Yeah, we British like to stock up for the day, but I know I can't eat all of it. And then not to mention the pastries. They got the little croissants, chocolate croissants, the one with the almonds in it, and all that. And then they got bread, so you can have jam and honey, and then they got fruit. And once upon a time, I'll be able to like touch everything and get a little bit of everything. Now, oh, I feel so bad. Like, it's like, because I'm doing this whole trying to lose the weight, and I'm not sure if I mentioned before, but I just tried the Manjaro. So I took that injection, and like it's messing up with how I eat. In my mind, I still want to eat, but then the body's like telling you can't eat, and it's so annoying. I mean, you want to lose weight, but still, it's just annoying. So I'm there, and I've put food on the plate, but consciously, because I knew what happened the day before, where I piled up the plate and I couldn't finish the food on the plate. So I was more conscious of what I picked this morning, Sunday morning. Got through it, and went back up. Had a really relaxed time. I didn't rush myself because my train was at after 3 in the afternoon. The checkout was 11, so I didn't feel I needed to rush myself. So I was like, okay, took her time, checked out, basically at 11. Like I left out the room minutes before 11. Got down to the reception, handed in my key, paid up my bill, and sat down and we're like, okay, what we're going to do now? What we're going to do now? We've got time. So I think, why don't we go see if we can find a restaurant, like a Jamaican restaurant? Let's see what the Caribbean section of Liverpool is saying. So I went to ChatGPT and like tell me about this road, because usually in any area in England where there's a black community, there's usually like one road where there's like lots of shops, there'll be restaurants on it as well and everything. So I'm like, give me a road that's got all these things on it. It gives me this road, Uber it, and I'm like, okay, let's go find see Wagwan on this street. So I hop into a taxi. So it's this lovely white gentleman that's taking us to the road. And on the way there, I tell you, conversations you have with people, they're interesting. On the way there, he's telling me about this deal that this company is having with Tesla, where you can get the Tesla. You can also get the solar panels for your roof and battery packs and the installation and you pay like, I think you were saying like 15,000 for the installation, and then you get a monthly thing to pay for the rest of it and the Tesla. And I was like, that doesn't sound like a bad deal, And then we're going into the whole, yeah, it's great to have that stuff, but you need the banks, to store the power and stuff. And I was like, yeah, that's the important thing. And we start going to like, tech companies. It's all well and good they're making these things, but they need to work on the the batteries so we can store the power. There's no point making the power and then just put it back onto the grid. You want to be able to store your power so you can do those things. And then the conversation then snaked into the whole thing of, like in third world countries, this is what they really need because they've got the sun, but they need to be able to store that power as well for future use. So it was really very interesting conversation. And then we even went into the whole climate change because I was saying how, I went into the hotel room and trying to get it cool, but it was just a heater blowing out the heat, and we're like, oh, these old buildings, because it was hot that weekend, and we were talking about old buildings and how this country, England, needs to adapt to this changing climate that we're going through, and yeah, it's a phenomenon. Always conversations just snake and yeah, go where they go. But it was an interesting conversation. He was a lovely taxi driver. So he dropped us out, and we just ended up walking into some Afro-Caribbean shops and bought some snacks and stuff. And it's always nice to see just like what they've got on the shelves and things. What kind of stuff? Do they have any like Jamaican products and stuff? That's always nice to see. See what I can spot in a shop. And then we're walking down and trying to find this restaurant and can't find it. And I've walked a good length down the street. I'm looking down, I was like, it looks like it's starting to get residential now. Like, what's going on? So I asked someone on the street, like, do you know the shop is open? And he says, oh no, it's closed today. And I'm like, oh. Or he said it's not open yet. One of those. And I was like, oh, man, because by now it's like it's past lunchtime. I'm just like, oh, I would really have enjoyed that. So we sat down with our snacks and a drink, and then I ordered another Uber and to take us back to the hotel. So as we're driving back to the hotel, this Uber driver is much more quiet. So it was more me and my little man talking about the trip so far and has he enjoyed it, and he said yes. And as we're coming in from the direction we're coming in, I'm like, I can see like the waterfront now where there's lots of stuff going on and things happening. So I was like, oh, you know what? Can you just drop us out here? Now I have no idea where it is that he is dropping us off at. Yeah. I'm just like, now I'm the person that's walking. We're walking. Let me also remind you, I'm walking with a walking stick because of my foot. Yeah, walking with a walking stick. So he's turned off somewhere. Like, instead, as I said it, he's like decided to stop the taxi at the same time. Not to maybe think of where he's actually dropping me off. Yeah. So he's going to be like, oh, so what? Where he is that there's a white gate now, yeah. And the white gates must have been opening for a vehicle that must have been going in. And it's starting to close. I'm like, well, it says private property. Do you think you can actually? He said, no, man, yeah, you're fine. And it must have been on a sensor because as he drove, it started to open again. So he's like, yeah. So I'm like, oh, okay then. So me and my son, we walk now through this gate and going over this little, I'm thinking, really? And it's this block of what must have only been flats. Yeah. So I'm just like, how exactly do we... I can see where we're trying to get to. But I'm just like, how do we get there and not have to turn around and go some long way? So fortunately enough, there was this lovely guy with his little dog. He's taking his dog out to do his business. I was like, excuse me. Like, can you help me, please? Like, I've tried. The taxi driver just dropped me off here, and I don't know why he just dropped me off here, but I'm trying to get to over there, and I'm pointing in the direction of where I can see other pedestrians just going about their business. And he's like, oh, that's okay. I'll let you out through the back gate. The place was completely locked in. So if I didn't have found someone, I don't know how I would have gone out. So nice enough, he walked me over to where the gate was, and then somebody else was coming in. So they opened and held the gate open for us so we could get out. And then we walked over. So we're walking and we're taking in the sights. We're looking on the canal and watching the canal boats. And canal boats have been turned into restaurants and stuff. And watch them on the river, on the canal and stuff, and going around. And it's just a lovely, pleasant Sunday, afternoon. To just a stroll, looking at all the attractions and things. So we get to the museum now, which we had seen before, a few times before, especially when we went to lunch. It was just there. And he's like, oh, well, now can we actually see the doggies? Because they've got these 5 sculptural dogs, modern looking sculptural dogs, out the front. So I'm like, okay, then let's do that. So he goes and he's looking on them. And of course, the first thing he does is climb up to be standing up beside them. And then I go over and read the plaque that then says, please do not climb up on them. So I'm like, you need to get down. You need to get down now, please. So he gets down and stuff. I'm like, should we just go into the museum? Because I don't notice that it says free entry. And boy, if a museum says free entry, why not go in? Like, why wouldn't you go in? It's free. So, and I've got time to kill before the train. So I'm like, let's go in. Let's take a look. Now, you go into it and it's got this rounded area, and I'm not sure if it was steps going up or if it was a slope going up, but my foot was saying, no, we're not doing that today. Let's stay on the flat as much as possible. So we turned down, and they have a little section that's a play area in there. And I was like, oh no, if we're going there, we might have been there for a while. No, let's keep looking. So then we went around to a section where it was had trains. It was talking about trains and obviously Liverpool, and you saw maps of Liverpool, and talking about the wharf, the movement of goods. It had a wonderful, it was a very eclectic section, this section, because what led me to was this huge like moose animal against the back wall. And I was like, that's massive. And then when we get down there, below you've got like China and I mean, not like China's in the country. I mean like China's in fine China, white with the blue kind of pan, obviously from China. Kind of pottery and sugar and biscuit tins, foxes, biscuit tins, and what's the other one? That does the family circle biscuits, but different tins from way back in the day, coming up to present. Like, and I was just like, wow, that's amazing. And I could kind of remember some of them, and also what we had passed going when we were coming down to this museum was what they had was a museum of slavery. And I really wanted to go into that one, but it was being refurbished, so it wasn't open. So it was unfortunate. So when I saw the sugar, obviously, I'm like saying to my little one, yeah, sugar, slavery. Yeah, sugar plantations in Jamaica, and the slavery and all of that. So that conversation came up as well. And he saw a little train, this little train carriage where there was a bench at the front and a bench on the back. And I sat on the back and he sat into the front. He was trying to act like it was. I was like, no, it doesn't feel like it was right. So then we switched it around and he was on the front, which was more like an open bench, and the back was more like a enclosed kind of bench. And I was sitting in there, I was like, yeah, this seems more right. And then it's like he's giddying up the horsey and stuff. Nice little funny moment and stuff. And of course, people were looking at us kind of strange, as they always do. They also had model boats, kind of like Titanic-esque ships. So those were interesting to look at. And yeah, that was a nice little detour. But ever and always with my little one, the highlight for him going to museum is the shop. Like, it seems like on this trip, like he rinsed me everywhere, but there was some kind of souvenir shop. We had to stop, so he's like, you know, what can you get? I'm just like, okay, let's look around, and I picked up a few little badges and stuff, but he wanted to pick up one of a teddy bear look of the statues that were outside. I'm looking on the price. I'm like, I'm no, I don't think I'm willing to pay that for that kind of teddy bear. Like it's a big price for such a small bear. Like no, go find something else. So he started looking around. I was like, can I get this? I'm like, Then he puts up a little Nemo teddy bear, and I was like, oh. Looks at the price. I'm like, oh, okay, yeah, that's fine. I'll pay up for that. So he likes to. He seems to have this thing of collecting teddy bears. Anywhere we go, he likes to get a teddy bear. So he got a little Nemo teddy bear, and so we did that, and we left him. Now we've walked in, and they're doing sound checks now. So I guess for the later festival, in the evening. So there's a little bit of music playing as well, and people are enjoying it. And we're walking back, and we noticed that they've screened off more of the pavement than they did before last time. Because before he was literally doing cartwheels, running and jumping up on the sidewalk, but now they're screened off most of it, so he couldn't do that. And so we're just walking. But as we're walking, I noticed that there was this art museum, and it set out the front like art for all, good deals, art for all. So I was like, okay, let's go in. I haven't been into an art gallery for a long time, and I've never taken my little one into an art gallery, so let's go in. So we go in, and we start to wander around and look at the art gallery and look at the different paintings and go around, because it says you can go around and see, man, I'm not quite sure, because one point it says staff only, and I was just like, are we allowed to go around there? So I said, so come down. I was like, can we go around there? And he says, yes. So we go around there and we go and look, and there was this piece that really, there's a few pieces that really jumped out at me, and go and look at the price. I'm like, oh yeah, not gonna be able to afford that. So, but I enjoyed looking at the art. That was very nice. And then so we came back out to the original area, and so they had some art pieces stacked up that you could flick through. So I'm flicking through the art pieces. I'm like, what can I afford that I like? That's literally what I was doing. And then I came up with this lovely, very colorful two fishes, kind of like in a coral scene. I was like, okay, I can afford that. And because to be fair, I've never bought art before. I've never actually bought art before. Like, little postcards maybe, but that's a postcard, but or souvenirs when you're at a museum, but I've never actually bought art before. So it felt really nice to be doing something that I hadn't done before. And so I've taken it to the counter now, and given it to the lady. And so she's putting it through, and she's like, what's your email address? So I tell her what my email address is. And she's like, oh, that's a nice email address. And I said, well, actually, it's the name of my podcast, The Scandalous Life of RJ. And she's like, oh, you got a podcast? I'm like, yeah, I'm starting up. I've put the trailer out for it, but not quite sure where I'm starting off at. And then I stood there for a moment. I was like, actually, this trip could actually be the first episode, my trip to Liverpool. And she's like, yeah, why not? And I was like, yeah, absolutely, yeah. So she was like, well, she's definitely gonna look out for it and stuff. And I said, it's on Spotify, it's on Apple Music, and it'll be going on YouTube soon enough. So that's really what made me do this episode, for it to be the first episode of my podcast, was that interaction with her. So we were saying how beautiful the art is, and how, you come in and you see it and you feel inspired. And she said she was an actress, And I was like, oh, well, I work in a theatre. She's like, oh, really? And he was like, oh, you don't, what kind of art? And I'm saying, what kind of artist are you? She's like, oh, she does a little bit of everything. I was like, so do I. You kind of, to be able to express yourself, you don't have to stick to just one format or one medium. Like to do lots of different mediums to express your creativity. And so that was soul to soul kind of reaction that I had with her, of yeah, we see each other, acknowledgement. So yes, that was nice. And then we went back to the hotel, and we still had time to kill. Still had some time to kill, so got a drink from the bar and sat in there and just waited till it was time to go to the train station. So ordered another Uber, took us back to the train station, and they're waiting for the train. Just people watching, just watching people as they go past. Sometimes it's just an interesting thing. Like I sit there and I was only on different things. Like I'll see, oh, what colors are passing me today? What are people wearing today in colors? Or what's a predominant brand of shoe that's walking past me? I noticed, what was the shoe? It was mostly Adidas's that day. Mostly Adidas's that was walking past me, I have to say. And then it's time to go on the train. So we get on the train, put our bags down, get comfortable. One way it's 4 seats, 2 seats, 2 seats over a table. And we sit down there and get ourselves all nice. And because we're one of the first ones on the train now in that compartment. So I put my suitcases on the luggage rack and got all comfortable and stuff like that. And little man's got his stuff doing and he's all comfortable. We have bought snacks, so we're like, might as well eat something now and thing. It's like a 3 hour and a 3 hour bit journey back to Nottingham. Or so you think. Or so you hope. Yeah, you hope when you get onto a train or to any form of public transport that it's going to be a smooth journey and that it's going to get you there when it says it's going to get you there. That did not happen on this journey. No, it didn't. No, it didn't at all. Now, I must have said on the journey coming that there was a crash on the line. Not in my direction, but that already happened, Aha! As we're going, we've passed Manchester, and then we've stopped. And we stopped for a while. I'm thinking, what's going on? Why is the train stopped? Oh, look, why is it stopped? And then the driver comes over, or the attendant comes over the line and says, oh, there's been a fatality at Stockport. And I'm just like, oh no. They don't tell you the circumstances, but one's mind does run, doesn't it? I'm thinking, oh my goodness. Is this like someone's killed themselves, thrown themselves onto the tracks, or what's happened there? So I'm like, oh gosh. So I then stopped there for a while more. I'm thinking, there's no way. I had a family barbecue to come back to. I was like, I'm not sure if this is gonna work now. So then, the train has to go back. It has to go back to Manchester. Let people off that wants to go to Stockport, and then it's gonna be rerouted onto a different route. I'm like, oh boy, this is gonna take longer, innit? So then it gets rerouted and stuff. Now, one of the things that's also nice about when you're driving when you're on a train is just watching, the scenery go by and what happens. And one funny thing I did notice when I was on the train was that we pulled into a train station, and there was this gentleman that was surrounded by police, and he's animated, like he's explaining something. I'm thinking, oh my, what's happened there? What's happened there? And then I see this little girl, this child, being carried by the police officer, and comes around the corner, and then the man gets down on his knees and he hugs her and stuff, and then the police officer walks her back. And I'm thinking, oh, what happened there? Did he lose his child? Did they find it? But then he's still been very animated, and he hasn't fully been reunited with the child. So I'm just like, what's going on there? And then I'm thinking that the train's going to be going in the same direction that we pulled in to the station so I can then really get a better grasp of look down and see if I can see if there's a mother or with a child or what's going on. No, the train decided it's backing up to go. I'm just, what? Oh, you know when you've built up a story in your head because you've seen something and then you just want to know what's going on. Yeah, that didn't happen. That didn't happen. So we then get into Nottingham late, and this says, you can get compensation. I'm like, hell yeah! If I can get some money back, oh hell yeah! I'm gonna get me some money. So I made a note of that, and then we got off of the train, and now when we had come, I'd come down the stairs, and I was like moaning, oh, I've got to buy this bag, and I'm with my walking stick, and I had some money. I've travelled through Nottingham train station only a handful of times. So now I'm walking as we've gone off, and I'm like, stairs, really? I've got to carry it back up the stairs. But then I keep looking down, and it's like, lift. I'm like, oh my gosh, there's a lift? So I head towards the lift, get onto the lift, and it takes me up into the main section. Come out there, and of course, another Uber. This is where things kind of go woo-woo. South a bit. So I've ordered this Uber. Now, where I've realized, sometimes you order an Uber and it doesn't actually put the pin exactly where you are, because it might be that where you're standing, cars can't drive down. So I'm at the front, and you can't. So it's now pinned it to the pickup point where the taxis drop off. Now, I've never used that pickup drop-off point at the station before, because I'm not really a train person. I know about that at the bus garage, but I don't know that at the sun there. So I was like, oh, okay, we've got to walk back into the station, walk down the side, turn down, and walk down towards it. So by the time we get down towards it, the taxi driver is already there. So now, I've opened the door. He said my name. I said yes. He's looked at me. I'm there with the bags, with the walking stick. Now, this is the issue. I've come from Liverpool, and every taxi driver that I've dealt with in Liverpool, where I've had my bags, has done the decent thing and gotten out of the car and helped me with the bags. This driver decided to not come out of the taxi and help me with the bags. Now, not even to open the boot. Now let me rewind, just to refresh you on, because I've been talking for a little while. I'm walking with a walking stick. I've got pain in my foot. I've gotten onto the train. I've had a delay. It's been long. Yeah, and now I've had to walk all the way around to get to where the taxi is, because it won't come to where I was standing. And now he won't get out of the car, open the boot, and help me with my bags. You know when you have one of those moments where all decency goes out the window and you lose your shit? Well, I lost my shit. Yeah, I opened up that car boot and I literally flung my suitcases into the back of the car. And I was cussing, effing and blinding at this point, right? I know all dignity had totally left me at that point. that's the truth. And we all have these moments. We all do. And so I've gotten into the back, because my son's already in the back of the car now. So I've now gotten into the back of the car and something there. So now the taxi driver decided to tell me that he has cancelled my taxi because I am mashing up his vehicle. I'm mashing up his vehicle. Okay then. And he's cancelled my ride. So now, imagine I'm already vexed, just wanting to get home, and he's cancelled my taxi. And I've realised at this point I've gone so far down that road that there's no point for me to try and pull it back and say I'm sorry. Because honestly, I'm not sorry. I'm not sorry for his actions. Absolutely, was the reaction he got from it was based on his actions. So I'm not sorry. And but in that moment, I was like, I am not going to take the embarrassment of getting out of his car and standing up on the sidewalk to make everyone who was around there seeing the scene, seeing that he's kicked me out of his taxi, and I've now got to wait as he pulls off for another one. So what I decided to do was sit in the taxi on the app and cuss him at the same time while watching the next taxi that had been booked come around. And it was only when that next taxi pulled in front of him to stop that I then got out of his taxi. Yes, he had to, in that short period of time, hear me cuss him out. And as he's trying to cuss, but I'm louder, so yeah. So now I've gone out of the taxi. I was like, what, you're not going to take the bags out? You're not going to take the bags out and check the damage? You're not going to come check the damage if I mash up your car? Stupid man. So I've opened up the boot again, taken the bags out, yeah, and wheeled them towards the next car. Same thing I've done. Opened the door. The man's looked at it and said my name. I said, yes, that's me. Okay, that's it. All you need to do was, that was my name. Instantly came out of the car, walked around, opened the boot, put my bags in, and I was like, oh my days. Thank you. That is all I wanted. And I literally turned around because the taxi was still parked behind him and said to him, you see that? You see that? Do you see that? And gave him the finger. I did. I ain't gonna lie. I did. I gave him the finger. Because, I was fuming. Right? I was fuming. So then... So the man seen me give him the finger and he's like, oh, what's happened? And so I said, the man seen me with a walking stick and you see how you've gotten out of the car and you've come and helped with my bags? He refused to come out of the car and help me with my bags. So we got into an argument. I did not say I threw the bags into the back of the car. I know how that would have looked. So, I just stated the reason why, but I didn't say what I actually did. Anyways, he was so lovely, this little old man. He was like, oh, I'm so sorry. Some of these drivers, what does it take? And I'm just like, yeah, what does it take sometimes? Just to have a little consideration, kindness, a little bit of thought for someone else in their situation. I mean, my trip didn't have to end that way with me cussing and blinding. If he had just helped, that's all. And the fact that the other taxi driver did that so quickly as well made me also feel justified that I'm not just being an ass. Like, yeah, this is the behavior that is expected and should be given freely. And so we got into the taxi and he drove us home. And we had such a lovely conversation. And it was strange because we ended up having the same conversation about moving kids back to their home countries as minorities and giving them that chance. And he was then telling me about his son that had taken his kids back for a few weeks so they could get themselves immersed in Pakistan. So it was really, it seemed like that was quite a bit of a theme of going back home and immersing into giving children the chance to really immerse themselves in their culture and understand themselves. So it was a really nice trip. And what I take away from it is how kindness goes a long way. It does. Just simple things. And conversing with people, can lead to some really funny conversations, and just going places and doing stuff you've never done before and having new experiences, is always wonderful. It's always wonderful. And I will continue to venture out and to see new places because travel's just my thing. It really is. And I'm sitting here with this boot still on my foot. And as I said, yeah, that's a story for another time. And I think I should leave it there for today. But it's really, I feel like this podcast is becoming, it's more like a treasure trove of my memories. So I'm going to say I'm going to close the treasure chest for this episode. And the next episode, we'll open that treasure chest of memories and see what pops out. Until then, be good, be safe, and live a little scandalously. Mwah.